Hi there, secret and not so secret singers. This video today is for those who think they might be tone deaf or have trouble singing in tune. So I want to talk about why you are probably not tone deaf. Musicality, your sense of things like pitch and rhythm, that kind of thing, is a spectrum. And humans are naturally musical. It's part of our brain. I'm not going to get into the history of why that is at the moment, but actual tone deafness is very, very rare. It's a neurological condition. It's called amusia. It's hard to find actual stats on how common it is, but it is actually a lot rarer than you might think. You might have heard other people sing who had trouble singing in tune, but that doesn't mean that they're actually tone deaf, and this goes for you as well. So musicality is a spectrum. Up the extremely good musicality end, you have people like, for example, Jacob Collier, who is a musician who has perfect pitch. You can play any note, he can tell you what note it is that you're playing, can recognize chords, insane rhythmic ability. So those real like genius muso type people. Down the other end, you would have tone deafness, amusia, and the rest of us are somewhere in the middle. I don't have perfect pitch. I can't tell you what a note is when I just hear it played. I can't, if you tell me to sing a B, I probably can't just sing a B out of nowhere. I can train that ability. There have been times in my life where I have trained that up, but it's not something that just comes to me naturally. So musicality is on a spectrum and it can be improved with practice. The reason why a lot of people think that they're tone deaf is that trouble with singing in tune. I want you to think about someone learning to play violin. You wouldn't expect someone who has never had a violin lesson to be able to just automatically play violin in tune. If you've ever heard a beginner violinist, you know there's a bit of a learning curve. So the violin, like the voice, is not an instrument that has the notes like marked out for you, right? If you're playing piano, you put your finger down, as long as the piano's in tune, you press the button, it makes the right note. Same thing with the guitar, the frets are marked out. So as long as you're putting your finger in the right fret, it's gonna make the right note. But things like violin, cello, and the voice, it's like there's no set button for where the note is. So when you're learning to play a violin, you have to kind of figure out like where on the neck of the violin your finger goes to get the right note. And it's a coordination between the muscles of your arm and your fingers, and your ears and the music part of your brain and your eyes to see where you are on the neck. So there's a whole bunch of things going on that are the combination of skills that lead to being able to play violin in tune, and that takes practice and guidance. So the voice is the same. The voice is just a bunch of muscles. We tend to think of singing as being something that either is a talent that people are magically gifted with from God, and you are just born with it, or you're not. And that's really, really not true. So singing is something that you can train, you can get better at. It's literally just strengthening muscles. And again, connecting that coordination between the musical part of the brain, your ears, your voice, your interoception, your sense of physically what it feels like to make different sounds on the inside of your throat. These are the skills that we can train. So quite often I get people, beginner singers, coming in for a lesson with me and they say, I'm pretty sure I'm tone deaf. I think I can't sing in tune. They want to know for sure. And all of the singers I've ever worked with, I've never yet met anyone who was totally tone deaf. And I've had some people who've really struggled with singing in pitch, but no one who is actually tone deaf. So when they sing something for me, what usually happens is even if they're out of tune for most of the song, there will be one section of the song where they're in tune. And that will usually either be like the chorus, the part that they're most familiar with, or it'll be the part that's in the most comfortable part of their range. Maybe it's the verse where it's a bit lower and in the chorus it gets too high and they have trouble hitting those notes. So again, that shows me that there's nothing wrong with your ears. If you can sing like one part of the song in tune, or if you know that you're out of tune. If you just sing and you'd have no clue, right? You've heard people who sing like that. that's more of an indication that maybe there's, you know, not the right connections with the brain, the ears and the musical part of the brain. But if you sing something and you're like, oh, that's off, or you hear yourself recorded, even if you didn't know it at the time when you were singing it, but you hear yourself recorded and you can hear that it's out of tune, that means your ears work well. So the skill that you are lacking is the coordination of the vocal muscles and knowing how to access the physical sensations required to produce those notes. And that's something that you can learn. And that's something that you can learn through one-on-one coaching with a vocal coach or singing teacher. If you have some good guidance and they have some exercises to help you develop those vocal skills, to know what settings your mechanisms need to be on to access certain sounds, to make certain things easier, like reaching high notes. Or you can develop it yourself just through exploring your voice, just like making a whole bunch of weird noises, being very playful and just experimenting. So the more that you're kind of like just walking around your house making weird noises, that is a really, really helpful way to start to develop a sense for what your voice feels like, what it feels like to make certain sounds. And that's how we develop vocal control and ability, as well as starting to strengthen the muscles and strengthen that connection between the ears and the voice and the brain and your physical internal interoceptive sense. So I hope that this was a helpful video for anybody who thinks that they might be tone deaf. If you're interested in chatting with me more about this and thinking what might be good resources for the next step for exploring your voice and developing more of a sense of pitch, feel free to send me a message. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your singing, even if it is out of tune. Have some fun. Catch you later.